This is The Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com.
Good morning, Tuscaloosa. Good morning, Tuscaloosa, Internet World, West Alabama. How are we doing today on a hump day? Happy hump day. Happy National Signing Day. It's the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central, BamaCentral.com. We're hanging out with you guys right here on the Bama Central YouTube channel, on the Bama Central Facebook page. You're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Spotify. We appreciate everybody who's checking us out on their favorite podcast platforms. I know a lot of you guys got Spotify Wrapped today. I got Spotify Wrapped today. If the Joe Gaither Show is in your top 5 podcasts, go ahead and shoot me a screenshot and post that up. And I would love to retweet you guys at Joe Gaither 6 and shout you guys out because I really appreciate everybody who spends time with us on your favorite podcast platform. We're brought to you by, of course, Derek Daniel State Farm Insurance right there in Tuscaloosa and Purple Turtle Roofing. You can call Purple Turtle Roofing at 877-787-6635 for all of your roofing needs. Like a good neighbor, Derek Daniel is there, but you need to make sure your roof is ready for the winter season. So call my man Brax Garrison, call my guys Dustin Foley at 877-787-6635 for all of your roofing needs. We're going to have a fun show today. We got Mason Woods with us. As always, Mason is up to his eyeballs in recruiting information. We want to go ahead and point you to Mason's recruiting tracker on BamaCentral.com. And really, there's a recruiting tracker for all 4 sites: Bama Central, Boston College, Missouri, and Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt has just gone insane with the Jared Curtis news yesterday because obviously big-time recruit. How often does Clark Lee get a 5-star quarterback, much less a 5-star quarterback flipped away from the Georgia Bulldogs? So make sure you're following all the recruiting coverage at BamaCentral.com at MAWoods_ on the Twitter machine. We're going to talk some recruiting. We're going to get the latest on Alabama, where they stand as comparison to everybody else. I'm going to ask Mason who his 3 favorite recruits in the class are. I've got my eyes on a couple, and maybe we have some crossover, but we're going to talk about his 3 favorite recruits in the class. We'll get into last night's college football playoff rankings. Alabama moves up by 1 slot to number 9. Hunter Yurachek was still very silly last night in a lot of his comments. So lots of things to parse through with his comments, and we can talk about what this weekend's game means for Alabama in terms of staying in the playoff field or falling out. We'll talk about what it means for Miami, because Miami is a huge focus. Miami and Notre Dame are a huge focus as well. So we'll talk about the playoff rankings. And of course, the Crimson Tide plays basketball tonight in Coleman Coliseum, 6:15 on ESPNU. So, going to be one of those secondary ESPN channels. You'll want to follow Bama Central if you can't make it on TV. Bama Central will have a live blog update. I'm not actually going to be in the building, unfortunately, tonight. Different obligations. Happy birthday to my girlfriend, Carrie, and we want to shout her out real quick right there at the beginning of the show. We're up visiting her, and so you guys are going to have to hold it down in Coleman Coliseum tonight, and so until I get back for the next game. And so we'll talk about Alabama's matchup against Clemson with our man Mason Woods. Good morning, Mason. I know you've been up all night, and I know you've been up all morning. Are you alive? How you feeling? How many Red Bulls? How many cups of coffee? What's it take to get the recruiting trackers up?
I mean, I have not even had time to get a Red Bull or coffee. I quite literally, oh gosh, ready. Just a peek behind the curtain here, folks. Obviously, the early signing period has arrived. The day we have all been waiting for all year. An entire year of recruiting goes into this day, goes into this 3-day period, basically, where, it has essentially replaced the normal signing period. I was all prepared, ready to go. I had done several hours of work in preparation for this day. I think between the 4 schools that we cover under our umbrella, it was something like 90 some odd commits. So, got something ready for every single one of them. Only to be told yesterday at around, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon that we are going to be moving forward with a completely new format on how we are doing all of these articles, and that I will need to basically change all of the work I have already done at this point. So I was up real late last night and then up real early this morning So I have not even had time to do anything. I have been, like you said, up to my eyeballs in recruiting coverage. Alabama right now, as of the last time I checked it, right before we started recording, they're up to 14 signees in the 2026 class. Taden Kawa, the quarterback out of Orem, Utah, being the last one there. I think we're still waiting on a few of the big-time guys. I believe Jet Tamala, I think, said he's going to be making his announcement tomorrow. I think there was somebody else that said they're doing it tomorrow. But, not really any shocking news yet today. There's a little bit of rumblings that there may be a Crimson Tide commit who is flirting with the Auburn Tigers.
No!
But we have not seen that come to fruition yet, so we will just kind of have to wait on that news and see what happens. As of right now, he is still locked in with the Crimson Tide, so as the day goes on, I will hopefully keep you updated.
And that guy is Brian Williams, right? Brian
Williams
is, he was, and a lot of that has to do with the coaching change at Auburn, because there was rumors that he was going to go flip to South Florida. Well, South Florida coach moves and goes to Auburn, and now it's rumors that he's flipping to Auburn.
I imagine the offer from South Florida to the offer from Auburn was quite different. Monetarily speaking.
Especially, look, you're Auburn, not hating on the rival, but hating on the rival. You're a little bit desperate. You want to kickstart the program.
Yeah, I mean, that's like a big splash you can get if there's a new coach. You go get the flip like day one
from the rival. So We'll be watching Brian Williams Jr., the wide receiver out of Florida, to see if he ends up with the Crimson Tide or with the Auburn Tigers. This is a good little spot to just go right here, because we didn't get to it yesterday. What did you make of the Alex Golesh hire? Auburn was, we're in on Summerall. Last week, Peter Radicus told us Summerall was probably the leader. Obviously, John Summerall ended up at Florida, University of Florida. And then as there was, we're striking out on John Summerall, it seemed like the pivot was, we'll just actually hire DJ Durkin. We'll just make him the head coach, the full-time head coach. And then late night, I guess it was late Saturday night, early Sunday morning, there was the announcement that, nope, it's not going to be DJ Durkin. We're hiring Alex Golesh. We talked about Alex Golesh on this show a decent amount, particularly when Alabama's played South Florida, but a decent amount. What do you make the Auburn Tigers hiring the Russian?
I really don't know what to make of it, to be honest with you. I think I am still kind of firmly in the camp that should have just saved your money and hired DJ Durkin. Look, I think Alex Golesh is a great coach. I think he's probably going to do a pretty good job at Auburn. I don't know that I necessarily see him bringing them to national championship level status, but I do think he's a very good coach. And I think he's got, a bit of that attitude that Auburn football is looking for, that kind of underdog mentality. But I think you had all of that with DJ Durkin, and you could have paid him half as much money and then spent the rest of that money on building the roster or retaining the roster that you are losing at an alarming rate at this point. I don't know. I think this is another case of Auburn gonna Auburn. I just don't really see it going all that well. I think we're going to be sitting here in 3-4 years, and sure, you might have won 7, 8, 9 games, but did you beat your rivals? Did you make it to the college football playoff? I don't know.
Well, we've talked about how tough a job Auburn is with their main two rivals being Alabama and Georgia.
One in the country.
Right. It's absolutely, a rock and a hard place right there. I liked the hire for Auburn. I think that Alex Golesh is a hard man and ready to do hard things. Obviously, a lot of people are pointing at the South Florida record over the last 3 years, 7-6, 7-6, 9-3. But I believe South Florida, before he got there, was a flat-out 1-11. The year before he got there. So I think that this is a guy who can spark your program and get you off the mat. And look, Auburn has been on the mat since Gus Malzahn's final year. Gus Malzahn's final year was like 6-7, I think it was, or 7-6. It was not a good year after having mostly 8, 9, and 10 win seasons. He kind of took a little dip there, and the Auburn faithful said, "Well, you haven't beat Alabama in a while. Goodbye." And then they've been in absolute purgatory with Brian Harsin was horrific for them, a terrible fit. And
Purgatory is a generous way to put it.
and Hugh Freeze basically going there to get fired to work his way into a buyout, and which he got this past season 3, 4, 5 weeks ago. And so I think that they need somebody that's going to just get in the trenches, and Alex Golesh, I think, is that guy. And I think it's great. He is retaining DJ Durkin as the defensive coordinator. And look, you can
for now.
That's what he said. I mean, they for the coming.
I mean, they're saying that until someone offers DJ Durkin a lucrative head coaching job, and I think you can say that all you want. I don't think it's all that likely it actually happens.
That's not a bad perspective. I don't think. I didn't think about that. Him getting hired away. I think.
I mean, it's not like he did an insanely good job at Auburn or anything, but I think it was pretty remarkable the difference between what that team looked like under Hugh Freeze and what it looked like under him.
Oh, is it remarkable, or is it just the difference between a coach that's in the facility and a coach that's on the golf course?
That's fair. Hey, but that goes a long way.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Did you hear Golesh this week talk about? I like football.
I don't play golf. I don't. Yeah. I think he'll do great. I think he'll do good there. I just don't. I don't know that I'm sold on him taking Auburn to the promised land that they think they are so deserving of.
Yes, I don't see him. I don't really see Auburn as a national championship program. First off, but so I think that he's going to do well there. And what is well there? It's 8 wins, it's 9 wins, it's biting Georgia or Alabama once every other year.
Yeah.
And I think he can do that. Unfortunately for Alabama, but winning an SEC title, I don't really think Auburn is that kind of program anymore.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Especially with the addition of Oklahoma and Texas and just the massive – when you went away from divisions, I think it really made it hard for the middle to bottom end of the SEC to think, oh, we're contenders, or we got a chance to win our division and get to we only had to beat one big team to get to win the West or whatever. So I don't know. I think he'll do well there. And I do think that he'll bite Alabama or Georgia here or there, but and we'll see if he bites Alabama on the recruiting trail with Brian Williams. We'll bring it all back full circle right there. So you said Taden Cowell was the most recent signee that you saw this morning, and right now on the BamaCentral recruiting tracker, you've got Taden Cowell, you've got Malik Franklin, Edge, Zion Gibson. The drama over this weekend, he has signed his letter of intent. Kamarion Johnson, you have Jet Tamala on here as a sign.
Okay, I guess I must have gotten him confused with somebody else. Everything runs together. There's 90 some odd kids I'm keeping track of.
Yes. No admonishment there. EJ Crowell, Zay Hall, our man from Hillcrest High School, right down the road, is on the signee list. Jared Dowdy, Dowdy or Doty, we'll find out as we go along. Offensive lineman from Atlanta, Jira Edwards, safety from Baltimore, Chris Booker, big old offensive lineman from Atlanta, Corey Howard, defensive lineman from Valdosta. I think we talked about him pretty recently. Rael Kelly, safety out of Cincinnati, former Joe Gaither show guest. Bear Fretwell from Atlanta, offensive lineman as well from Atlanta. Jordan Edmonds, cornerback from Marietta, Georgia, are on the early signee list. Obviously, we're looking for Xavier Griffin. We're looking for Jamarian Matthews. We're looking for Sadarian Morgan. I don't have any bit of doubt for any of those three guys, but just a lot of names still out there. It's early in the day. If you're listening to this later in the day, we're recording in our normal time, a little later than our normal time, but pretty much in the same window. It's 9 a.m. as we speak right now, so it's still pretty early in the signing day. What do you make of the job, year 2, of Kalen DeBoer, of Courtney Morgan, obviously Kane Womack being a heavy part of that, Ryan Grubb being a heavy part of that this year? What do you make of just the recruiting effort of the Crimson Tide? And just more specifically, how do you compare it to any time that you saw it under Coach Saban? Because everybody thought, it's going to fall off. And Saban, number one pick, number one class. And now you've got a second year of DeBoer. Last year, a little bit of a mulligan, but still a really, really good class. But now you have the full 12-month cycle. What do you make of the class of 2026 as it's coming together?
I mean, I don't think Alabama has missed a beat on the recruiting trail since Nick Saban retired. You go back to that first class of after Kalen DeBoer gets hired, the 2024 class, they kind of had to hold together with duct tape and scotch tape. But he holds that class together. You finish number 2 in the country. And then, like you said, last year, it's okay. You finished somewhere else in the top 10, a little further down. I don't remember exactly what it was. Probably, I think it was like 5 or 6. And it's okay. You maybe you're starting to see the fall off. Maybe DeBoer can't recruit the South, but no, you bounce right back this year. You're with your first like full kind of class under your belt here, and you're the number 2 ranked class in the country again, at least as of according to 247 Sports. I think On3 or Rivals might have you a little bit lower than that, but regardless, you are right there up at the top as one of the premier programs in the country. So yeah, I am thoroughly impressed with what this staff has done on the recruiting trail. I think that they have, I think that they are different from what Coach Saban and his staff did, but they are just as effective, if not maybe even a little more effective.
Yeah, last year's class finished at number 4, according to 24/7 Sports. Right now, this year's class, 2026, is at number 2 overall, and obviously got a lot of guys waiting to sign their intent, their letter of intent. So we'll see if we get Xavier Griffin today, Matt Sutter, Jamarian Matthews, Owen Cabell. We'll see about J.J. Finch. A lot of rumors about J.J. Finch flipping to Tennessee, unfortunately. We had him on the program as well, so we'd love to see J.J. Finch in Clemson, and we'd shoot him a text message and congratulate him on that. Congratulate him anyways, because we hope they all go to the schools that are the right fit for them. What is let's just go right to it. Who are your favorite, I was going to say 5, but 5 may be a little big, 3 recruits in the Alabama class of 2026, whether they've already signed or are committed and you're waiting on to sign?
Man, that's a tough call. I think first, there is a ton of extremely talented prospects in this class. I think you are getting a lot of guys who will be, instant impact type of players, guys that are going to be working themselves into the rotation at whatever position they play relatively early. I think first I've got to go with Jair Edwards, the 5-star safety out of St. Francis. I think he just embodies what you are looking for in a safety prospect. He is lengthy, he is extremely athletic, and he is not afraid to get downhill and deliver a massive hit to anybody at the line of scrimmage that is meeting him there. I think he is really going to be an elite player in this defense. I think just seeing what Kane Womack can do with him because of all the versatility he has, I am very, very excited for what we'll get out of Jair Edwards.
Is he a natural born Husky to you? Where he's going to be playing that nickel. I'm really an outside linebacker,
like that.
But
I mean the bits, like I said, I think was it yesterday. I've watched him once live this year on television, and then I've seen his highlights. Like the way he plays, I think certainly fits that mold. He is that kind of tweener type where he has the athleticism to drop into coverage and make plays and be really rangy as a safety, but like he's not afraid to get his hat in there and lay a hard hit on somebody. I think the next guy that I'm a big fan of in this class, we'll stick with the defensive side of the ball, I think. And I'm going to go with Camarian Johnson, the defensive lineman the defensive lineman edge rusher. He kind of moves back and forth between both of them, but out of Muscle Shoals. 6'4", 260 pounds. Not exactly the same size as like Tim Keenan, a little bit on the slimmer size, but like he's the kind of player, he reminds me of him. Like just eats up space. And I think Camarian's a little bit more athletic than Tim is, but just able to eat up space and like dominate, anybody that you throw at him. You go to his huddle page, you watch his highlights from this past season, even from his junior, sophomore seasons, and like it's just double team after double team after double team. And he is taking these blockers on, either shedding them, splitting the double team, doing whatever he can to get past these guys. And then he is ferocious once he gets into the backfield in pursuit of the ball carrier. I think Camarian Johnson, I don't want to speak too soon, but I could see him maybe taking a London Simmons-esque route where he becomes a early, contributor to the defense. And let's see, we'll wrap it up. with number 3. I got to go with an offensive guy here, but man, it's really hard to choose between the 3 that I'm looking at right here. I'm gonna go. I gotta go with Sedarian Morgan. I have said it before on this show. I will say it again. This is Julio Jones 2.0, folks. Like, get ready. If you have not familiarized yourself, do it now before it is too late. Sedarian Morgan, I think, is going to be an absolute star in this Alabama offense. Pair him up with a quarterback that can deliver him the ball at literally any level of the field, and he will make plays. He's 6'4", 220 pounds. Right in line with the same size as what Julio was coming out of Foley High School. He's got obviously probably a little bit more production just because of the way the offense has evolved at this point. But like skill set wise, they are very similar to each other. And I think, while that may be a bit of a lofty comparison for a freshman, I think it's warranted.
I love those picks. Honestly, I think that you could go in any direction with this recruiting class. I think there's a guy for everybody. Depends on, I like quarterbacks, I like running backs, I like offensive linemen. Whatever is your cup of tea, whatever your flavor is as far as offensive and defensive prospects, you can find it in this Alabama class of 2026. I'll go with 3 that you didn't name, even though I love Jaira Edwards and I love Sedarian Morgan. I'll go really with 2 linebackers. I'll go Xavier Griffin because I think he's versatile and I think he really can play off the edge. I think you're kind of looking at a Jahad Campbell, Dallas Turner type player who can do really anything that you want in the Kane Womack defense. And obviously 5-star player, top-rated player in the class, and just been an absolute monster over there for Gainesville High School in Georgia as number 1. I like I really like just our guy from Hillcrest High School, Zay Hall, just because I think he's really, really under-recruited. And maybe it's just because the personal bias, probably so. But I think that every time I've seen Zay Hall, he has been a skull crusher out there at linebacker, all over the football, all over the place. I think that he's going to be he's probably going to need a little bit of refinement, but the physical tools are there to end up being probably a really good player on this Alabama defense. And then I'll flip to the offensive side of the ball, and Alabama really needs a running back right now who can be dynamic, and maybe A.K. Deere can be that as a sophomore along with a junior version of Daniel Hill. But I'm really, really excited for E.J. Jackson turns around and hands him the football. It's like, what's the old Mario? Was it the star power up where you got the star? They bounced off of you and you ran really fast. I think that was kind of that Mario, the Super Mario power up. You ended up with the little star. Mario starts glowing. All the little evil things, all the little enemies bounce off of you, and you go really, really fast. So I think that's what I see with E.J. Crowell, just a super talented running back. Obviously, reclassifying, should be entering his senior year. Instead, will be coming to Alabama very, very right on the same path as Ryan Williams. We talked a lot about Ryan Williams yesterday. I'm looking forward to seeing E.J. Crowell. Lots of great players in this class of 2026. Jet Tamala reportedly is going to be going to the SEC championship this week with his dad to kind of celebrate the end of their season. I think you've got a bunch of good offensive linemen. I know the offensive line heavy focus for us. I think Chris Booker is going to be a really athletic lineman who comes in and, all these guys are going to need a little bit of time to marinate and grow, but I think Chris Booker is going to be a guy that everybody's like, oh, that's a real mother bleeper when he gets on the field and gets going. So kudos to the class. Congratulations to everybody who has signed and is signing. And congratulations to Courtney Morgan and Kalen DeBoer. Big old class is incoming to Tuscaloosa very, very soon. And so you can keep up with all of Mason's work, and I really encourage you to do that. I'm going to be sharing it out on my own social media machines after we finish. The BamaCentral recruiting tracker is sitting right there on the homepage. You can find it right there. Just type in BamaCentral.com, and you can read 3,000 to 4,000 words on this class, who Alabama's missed out on, who's on offense that stands out, who's on defense that stands out, just a list of the signees, who's waiting to be signed. All kinds of details for this recruiting class can be found right there on BamaCentral.com. All right, Mason, let's transition into last night because last night was the final Tuesday night ranking session of the college football playoffs. Hunter Yurachek, the final time that we'll see him on a Tuesday night acting like a fool. Moves Alabama up to number 9. That's the most important piece of this conversation is Alabama moves from 10 to 9. And really, while I agree with moving them up, he had no real good reason to move. Oh, they won at Auburn. They looked good. They looked resilient, and they had a real gutsy 4th and 2 call at Auburn. Basically, every time he's asked about a team, it's just, we feel like it. We just feel like it. There hasn't really been hard and fast metrics to a x plus y equals z. And so Alabama moves up to number 9. You should have been over Notre Dame. And like we said in the first week where Alabama dropped from 4 to 10, I think it was 4 to 10 after losing to Oklahoma. Like I said, you're just going to have an overreaction to the Oklahoma loss. Let's see what happens. Mm-hmm. And I think that finally, after a couple of weeks, they realized, Alabama's resume is still really solid. They can go and win on the road, and they've got all these good wins, and we do think they're an impressive team. We're going to put them over on Notre Dame because Notre Dame's played, directional school U and Stanford, who's the worst team, one of the worst teams in the ACC, and military academy, this and that, and all respect to the military academies, but we all know they're not really football powerhouses. So it kind of became a resume look. I think they ended up getting it right last night, but their explanation is just absolutely giving me special needs. It's giving me no real, it's just how we feel like it. And so Alabama moves.
That's all it's ever been, though. I mean, they've never provided us with hard evidence of this is why this team, it's always just been, well, you look at this and we all came to the conclusion that team A was better than team B and it is all a ridiculous system when we leave it up to humans to decide it. There is no empirical data that they are using. They are going in there and deciding off of vibes. A computer will not do that.
I think Cam Metzger is exactly right. He's in our comments. He said he should have just said we moved Bama up because they finished the regular season as the number 1 seed in the SEC. Like, there were plenty of empirical data points that he could have used. Well, they won these ranked games. Well, their strength of record was X. Their performance was Y. Like, as far as a resume side by side by Notre Dame, there are plenty of places to point to, but instead he pointed to, well, they went to
run
Auburn,
game going.
and they ran the football better. That's what he said. They ran the football better. They got up 17-0 on Auburn. Auburn fought back, and they came back, had that real gutsy call on 4th and it's like, that's nice. And obviously we all enjoyed beating Auburn, and we thought that was, a nice little win despite them being 5-7. He could have just said, well, look at all the top teams that Auburn almost beat. Auburn was they're 5-7, but they had George on the ropes. They had these top 10 teams. They needed, Texas A&M needed a pick 6 to beat them. All these playoff teams really needed something special when Auburn was able to, and Alabama, was able to find it as well. Like, there was other places that he could have explained that to explain the jump, but he just ended up basically saying we feel like it. My man Ollie Woods, they got entirely by win-loss record, plain and simple. Ridiculous we even have a committee. Exactly. If you'd have made it the computers, and if you just spit out the BCS rankings, it would have worked out just fine. But regardless, we talked to Hunter Yurachek after. Obviously, he was on TV with Reese Davis, but this week, I have just read the transcript of the call. But I thought, okay, this is the week where I got to call. I got to jump on the call and make. He was awful. He was absolutely awful. I listened to the whole call. I did get a question. I got basically the second to last question. You can read it on BamaCentral.com. I wrote every little. I wrote every little comment that he made relevant to Alabama right there in the on the Bama Central page. And I asked him straight up. I said, "Well, what happened? What's the stakes to Alabama? If they beat Georgia, can they move to number 4? Or if they lose, will they fall out?" And he said, well, it's impossible to say. He wouldn't commit to anything. He wouldn't commit to anything at all for this weekend. He wouldn't commit to the playoff teams. If you're already in the playoff and you're playing the college football, or you're playing the conference championship game, you're in or you're out, or this week could hurt you. He kept going back and saying, we will re-rank all 25 teams after conference championship game weekend. And it just was an extremely political, we're just going to do whatever we feel like on Sunday based on vibes, as you said. And so it's just like, what? Could you commit to anything? So, because really, if you're Alabama, you should feel like you're in at number 9. If you lose to Georgia, he talked about maybe a significant loss. We don't know what we're going to do. Well, you should spell this out. Like, make it clear at this point. But there's no clarity. It's all just whatever we want to do. And I think a lot of it relates to Notre Dame and Miami. I think a lot of it, like the Alabama folks are rightfully talking about their own team and making sure, hey, if we lose to Georgia, we should still be in. You shouldn't punish us for this extra game, which is something I agree with. But I think a lot of this relates to Notre Dame and Miami, especially as it relates to BYU and Texas Tech. I think that where you have Notre Dame and Miami, what you've got Notre Dame at 10 and Miami at 12, with BYU sandwiched in between them. I think that they haven't brought the head-to-head in with Miami and Notre Dame for this simple, stupid reason that they're not sitting back-to-back in the rankings. Well, there's a little gap. BYU's in between them. We think Notre Dame's a little better. When BYU loses to Texas Tech this weekend, Miami probably will move up one spot to 11, and then you will have Notre Dame at 10, Miami at 11, and that's when they'll flip Notre Dame over Miami because, well, you beat them head-to-head, and head-to-head matters at this point. And I think that if Texas Tech beats BYU, it will not only bump BYU out of the playoff, but it will also bump Notre Dame out of the playoff. I think Alabama's safe. I think if you lose, we've talked about it all the last couple of weeks. If you lose by 3 scores, anything could happen. You lose by 10 or less, I think you're probably in. But I think, look, if you beat Georgia, that should be the flip side. If you beat Georgia, the jump from 9 to 4 is not that far. If you beat Georgia twice in a season, they should get serious consideration for that 4th overall bye. You should give the Big Ten winner number 1. You should give Texas Tech probably number 2. Give Indiana number 3 if they lose, or Ohio State number 3, and give Alabama that 4th seed if Alabama's able to beat Georgia. Just Mason, what do you make of the stakes of this weekend? What are the stakes? Because I tried to get them defined. I said, how high can Alabama go if they win? How low can they go if they lose? It's impossible to say. We'll re-rank the teams, all 25 teams again this week after the championship. So he just wouldn't commit to anything. So what do you think the stakes are for Alabama?
I mean, I think they're basically like we've laid out for the last, 3 or 4 days. If you go to Atlanta and you get demolished by this Georgia team, you probably are going to get left out of the playoff. And if we're being honest, you probably should get left out of the playoff if you get beat super handily in the SEC championship game. If you go win the thing, I think, like you said, you've got a pretty good case to jump into that 4 spot over all of those teams above you. I think it would be pretty undeniable at that point that Alabama would have one of the best resumes in the country. And then, the third option, you lose in a close game. I think you're probably still okay. I'm not super sold, but I think you are in a better spot than Notre Dame or Miami just because, they're not competing for a conference championship.
So I think Alabama is safe this week as long as they keep it close. But we talked to the guys yesterday, and they gave us the political answer. We're not focused on the playoffs. We're focused on this game. We're focused on our goals, winning a championship. And so I think the guys are ready to go this week against the Georgia Bulldogs.
I think so too.
Well, let's go. Let's talk just a little bit about Georgia before we get on out of here. And I want to talk about Gunnar Stockton and really what he has been doing the last handful of games for Georgia because he's an enigma, really. Because I think he's very. Is he Stetson Bennett light? Is that too disappointed to say because I don't think he's a great passer, but he's been good enough. And I don't think he's a great runner, but he's been good enough. He's not as good of a runner as Stetson was, but he's not. He's still been effective. Obviously, they've won every game since losing to Alabama. I think they're on an 8-game win streak. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8 games. In these last 8 games, he's passed 196, 217, 289, 223, 264, 229, 196 against Charlotte, 70 yards against Georgia Tech. And then he's rushed since the Alabama-Georgia game, 48 yards, 26 yards, 59 yards, 11 against Florida, 31, 29 against Texas, 11 against Charlotte, and 42 yards against Georgia Tech. What's his touchdowns? All right, so let's count that. 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 14, 15 passing touchdowns with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 15 passing touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and he's added 2, 3, 4, 5 rushing touchdowns as well. So 20 touchdowns to 5 interceptions in the last 8 games since the Alabama game. Just do you think here's the question, and we'll get pointed right to it. All my Georgia buddies are, Gunner's been playing really well. Gunner's been improving every week. Gunner looks good. Gunner's been better every week. And I sit there and say, okay, you did have a nice game against Texas. You went 229, 4 passing touchdowns, 1 interception. You rushed for 30 yards and got another touchdown. So 5 total touchdowns for Stetson against the Texas Longhorns, and maybe that's the most comparable team that we can to Alabama. But I just am not sold, and maybe it's my bias, maybe it's the fact. I'm just not sold that okay, he's better. I think that Alabama's defense has been playing at such a high level that they're going to get up there, confuse him, get him under pressure, make him feel you, and force him into some discomfort. And I think that Alabama's going to be able to take advantage of Gunner Stockton.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of right there in line with you. Nothing I've really seen from Gunner Stockton this season at any point has. There's been it's a few plays a game where it's like, oh, okay, nice. But then the other 92%, 95% of the plays you see from him that game, it's like, yeah, all right, that's an okay quarterback. He's average. He's maybe slightly above average on a good day. He's not really a dynamic guy. He's not, he doesn't really have the big time arm to make all the throws on the field. He's not the fastest guy. He plays really hard. I'll give him that. He's got that dog in him, that's for sure. But I think he lacks a lot of the top end, elite talent that you may be looking for to claim that a guy is kind of on that level. That being said, I mean, I don't know. I think you just kind of look at the last time Alabama played him. I know it was a while ago, but you did a pretty good job against him. So I feel like I don't know. Maybe I am too confident. Maybe it is, crimson fog clouding my vision here, but I just don't really think that Georgia. I would have been more scared to play Texas A&M, I think.
So we'll see what happens. I'll watch more Georgia today, and we'll give you better breakdowns Thursday and Friday as we get ready for Alabama and Georgia in the SEC championship game. Mason, let's keep this short. I know you got a really busy day today. You just let me know that Javari Burnett flipped back to Illinois. The running back commit for Alabama has flipped back to Illinois. Happy birthday, Carrie. ESPN can never give us this quality. Good job, guys. Onward to Bryant Denny East. Happy birthday, Carrie. Hope she has a great day. We're looking forward to celebrating her tonight. Let's move on to basketball. We've got a Clemson matchup, SEC ACC challenge right there in Coleman Coliseum. Before we do, though, we want to remind everybody that we are brought to you by Purple Turtle Roofing. At Purple Turtle Roofing, we believe our work is about more than roofing. It's about service, stewardship, and sheltering what matters most. Our name may be unique, but it's deeply rooted in purpose and faith. The color purple, symbolizing Christ and royalty, reflects our founders' personal beliefs and striving for excellence and honoring a higher calling in all that we do. The turtle represents something that began as a simple idea, but quickly became a powerful symbol of strength, endurance, and divine guidance. We appreciate Purple Turtle Roofing for sponsoring the program. You can call them at 877-787-6635. They specialize in residential roofing, commercial roofing, emergency storm repairs, full-on roof replacements, insurance claim support, and more. Roofing with heart, built to last. Call them at 877-787-6635. And we will be talking with Brax Garrison on Friday. I think that Brax has been on a lot of roofs this week. He said he's been very busy, so he's pushed kind of his time with us till Friday, and that is A-OK because he's out there helping you guys out, giving you the peace of mind that you deserve with Purple Turtle Roofing. You can call Brax. He'll come check out your roof at 877-787-6635. All right, so Mason, it's another matchup with the Clemson Tigers. Alabama and Clemson have been getting familiar with themselves over the last handful of years. Obviously, the most important matchup was in the Elite Eight matchup out there in California. I don't think you've played them since then, right? No, you haven't played them since then, beating them 89-82 out there in California. But you've played them a couple of times lately. You lost them in Atlanta in some little neutral site matchup at State Farm in 2020. That was 64-56 loss. You lost to them at home in the fall of 23, 85-77, and then you turned around and beat them in the Elite Eight that same year, the spring of 24, 89-82. Remember that fall of 23 game was the tennis match game that Jay, what's his last name? Bald fella from ES. Jay Williams. Was basically saying, it sounds like a tennis match in here. There's no energy in Coleman Coliseum. And he was right. It was a terrible crowd that night. But you're playing Clemson again, and Clemson sits there in the KenPom rankings. Control F Clemson at 25. They're 7-1 on the season. They have the 29th ranked offensive efficiency and the 41st ranked defensive efficiency. Alabama sits at 14 after the Players Era Festival with the third best offensive efficiency rating and the 38th best defensive efficiency rating. So better than Clemson in both categories, significantly better on offense, marginally better on defense. Alabama playing with the 9th overall pace in the season so far. Clemson, super slow, 291st in the country in pace. And we're starting to get to a point where, you're 7-8 games into the season, some teams 9 games into the season, where you're starting to get enough data to where some of these numbers start to mean something. Clemson playing super slow on the year so far. Clemson, they're 7-1. They've only lost to Georgetown. They lost at Georgetown 79-74. They beat Georgia 97-94, and Georgia's actually pretty nice in KenPom. I think in the 30s, is that right? No, Georgia's actually a little bit ahead of them in KenPom at 21. So they beat Georgia 97-94. Their only other real main game was against West Virginia. They beat West Virginia 70-67. The rest of their wins have basically been bye games. Smacking New Hampshire 88-38. Beating Gardner-Webb 97-59, beating Morehead State 83-56, North Alabama 81-61, and Alabama A&M 92-56. So there's your kind of overall look on the Clemson Tigers. They got a young man, Carter Welling, is leading them in points at 11.6, but he's tied. He's got a guy on his heels, R.J. Godfrey, right there, 11.3, and Justin Porter, a guard, at 11 points per game. So 3 guys averaging double figures for the Clemson Tigers. R.J. Godfrey and Carter Welling also getting it done on the board. 6.8 rebounds a game for R.J. Godfrey, 6.5 rebounds a game for Carter Welling. So they've got a nice little pair down low for the Clemson Tigers. Let me see if I can get a little height and weight on those young men. Carter Welling, 6'10", and R.J. Godfrey, 6'7". So they got 3 guys who are 6'10". Carter Welling, Jake Wallen, and Nick Davidson, all contributing to their post efforts, and then obviously R.J. Godfrey kind of playing a small forward role for the Clemson Tigers. So Mason, yesterday Coach O's had some interesting comments. really interesting comments. Basically, shed some light on Collins Onyedjiaka, his medical issue, and you got to give credit to Emily Smar, Tuscaloosa News, for breaking the news that it's an irregular heartbeat, and that's kind of what I might have said. That was kind of our suspicion that it was kind of a heart issue, not a real illness issue. And obviously, heart issue is illness, but not like, oh, I don't even want to say it because so it had an irregular heartbeat. And Emily reported that he had a procedure in the summer to kind of deal with it, and kind of subsequent checkups revealed, hey, where it hasn't quite been dealt with. Coach Oates, to get back to the point, yesterday said that Collins Onyedjiaka is having more tests this week, and they'll get a better idea of where he stands, if he can return to action, or if they've got to do another procedure, or what really is his future on this team. And obviously, he can apply for a medical red shirt if he doesn't play the rest of the year. Give an update on Latrell Wrightsell, Keaton Bristow, and Jaleel Bethea. All three are now day-to-day. And to have Bethea day-to-day here in December, look, to me, is very ahead of schedule. I thought we were going to have Jaleel Bethea probably for SEC play, and that starts in a month from now. So to have him officially reach the day-to-day status, Keaton Bristow still dealing with ankle-foot issue from the Players Era Festival and from the beginning of the season. I guess he tried to play through it a little bit in some of these bigger games and maybe re-aggravated things. Latrell Wrightsell with a foot ankle issue as well. So all three guys with a little foot and ankle issue. And Coach Oates saying we're not going to rush any of them back because obviously SEC play is more important, but giving them all the day-to-day designation. I'm really encouraged by that. I don't really know that we're going to see any of those three guys tonight against the Clemson Tigers, but I am really encouraged with their designation as day-to-day as it relates to SEC play. Just what are you feeling about the Clemson Tigers? Will there be a good crowd? Obviously, as we've turned the calendar over to December, a lot of the students are already making plans about getting out of here. You got finals week next week. It's week in Tuscaloosa, so not sure what the student crowd's going to be. And, you know, it's a 6:15 tip-off, so that always creates complications for the Birmingham crowd, for the Huntsville crowd, for the Montgomery crowd to get up to Tuscaloosa for right after work. So really, what's your expectation for tonight's Clemson game? How you feeling about it as the boys return to Coleman Coliseum?
I think you're unfortunately probably hinting at the correct thing, that it'll be a relatively weak crowd there in Coleman Coliseum. It's just kind of how this time of year goes. It just is what it is. Unless you're playing a really premier opponent. And, Clemson is a good team, don't get me wrong, but it's not like Clemson is they're not St. John's, they're not Illinois, they're not Gonzaga. So you probably will get a pretty weak crowd there in Coleman. But like you said, I'm really encouraged by the status of the health of Alabama's team right now, kind of where everybody at least seemingly is in their recovery. I think as long as this team is healthy, you are looking at a Final Four caliber roster. But as soon as you start to lose guys to injury, that's where you really start to see the deficiencies pop up in this team.
Yeah, I'm with you right there. The good thing for Alabama is the maybe lack of size for Clemson. Yeah, you got 2 6'10" guys, but I think that Aiden Sherrill can handle one of those. And
you'd hope.
Yeah, you're hoping for Taylor Boboan / Patriot League to get in there and bang with the other if they go really big. I think that Alabama's guards will kind of run them out of the gym tonight. KenPom has it as Alabama winning 86-78. I like that a little bit. I think Alabama's probably going to get right at 90-92. And so I'm going to go 92-78 Alabama tonight. I'm encouraged by the health designation of the three guys who are day-to-day. I'm hopeful for Collins Onyedjiaka because I think that athletically speaking, he could probably back up Aiden Sherrill better than Patriot League can. But maybe Patriot League just needs more time in the system, and maybe we'll all be surprised by him at the end of the year. I'm holding.
What does he have to do to earn the right to have his name spoken on this show? Is he going to just be forever referred to as Patriot League?
or Lurch, whichever one you like.
Oh man.
What he's got to look athletic. He's got to look like he's
Yeah.
played basketball before. Like every time
Yeah.
he's out on the floor, he looks like I've never played this game in my life. Everybody's a lot quicker than I am. Everybody's a lot more aggressive to the basket than I am. I'm just standing here getting myself run around. Like, to me, he just looks like Lurch. You know how he moseyed around in the Addams Family, just real slow and long and lumbering and not very fat. Like, you got to look like an athlete, Noah. You got to look like a blue collar basketball player. I don't care if you never score a point. I really don't. But have better body position. Get some rebounds. Don't let guys dunk on you just because you're too slow to turn around when the ball gets passed from one side of the post to the other, and bam, you're turning around and the guy's yamming in your face. Look like an athlete.
Yeah. These are all fair criticisms. I'm right there with you.
So we'll see what happens with him. But right now, I'm basically done with him. I'm taking Alabama 92-79. That's what I want to. That's how I want to settle.
I like that pick. I mean, I got to go with something different just to be different. We'll go 94, Bama 94, Clemson 72.
There we go. So you can follow all of that coverage on BamaCentral.com. We're going to be bringing you live updates. If you don't have ESPNU, you can find live updates on our website, and we'll have all kinds of coverage after the game as well. We want to encourage you to subscribe to the BamaCentral YouTube channel, because at 4 o'clock, Coach Kalen DeBoer is going to be giving his signing day press conference, and so he's going to be talking about all of the guys that have signed already. If they haven't signed, he can't talk about them. So we'll see if Xavier Griffin, Cedarian Morgan get all that paperwork in. I think I saw Cedarian Morgan was like a 2 or a 3 o'clock guy.
He has signed during us recording. They're doing us doing the show here. So you were up to, I think it was 17. Yeah, 17 signees out of, I think it was 24 was the total.
All right, so breaking news, Cedarian Morgan has signed. You've lost Javari Burnett back to Illinois. That's okay. You got E.J. Crowell. We'll see if you hit another transfer running back in the portal. What else you got to do at running back? So I think that Alabama right on track with signing day. We appreciate Mason Woods giving us his time on a very, very, very busy day. Follow Mason Woods at MAWoods_ as he's bringing you Jared Curtis news, as he's bringing you all kinds of, the Boston College stood by Bill O'Brien. They put out the vote of the hey,
I liked it
next year.
I like it. I think a lot of people have a lot of opinions on the way this season has gone. But it takes time to do things the way that you want to do them, and I think Bill O'Brien has prioritized. All right, we're going to do things the right way as opposed to trying to win immediately.
They said that they were going to give him more NIL money this coming year, so we'll see if he can parlay that into some wins.
They went out and got a good GM.
There we go.
Hired the assistant GM from Auburn.
Well, there you go. That's all it takes. Bring in an Auburn man, you'll start winning. And so we appreciate Mason joining us today on a very busy day. Follow him at MAWoods_. We'll be back tomorrow with another edition of the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral. We'll break down the Clemson win or loss. We'll talk a lot more about what Georgia has done over these last 8 games. Differently, better, less of, more of, against in the last 8 games than they did in September, because it's been really a minute since I've looked deeply at Georgia. So I'll be spending most of my time today doing that while Mason chases recruiting coverage. And so we'll have a lot of fun here. Sponsored by Purple Turtle Roofing and Derek Daniel State Farm Insurance, right here on the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral, BamaCentral.com.